Today, we're going to tear down something fascinating. It's a channel trailer, sure, but it's so much more than that. It's really a strategic blueprint, a plan to completely change how the world thinks about ancient history. We're going to pull back the curtain and see exactly how it's designed to work.
Right out of the gate, they hit you with this. This isn't just a catchy line, it's a direct challenge to a belief you probably hold without even thinking about it. This one question is the engine for everything that follows. It's basically a declaration of war on the status quo.
So what's the big idea here? Well, that brings us to our first section. Their mission is to totally reframe history. And I don't mean just telling old stories in a cool new way. I mean changing what we believe those stories actually are.
And here it is, plain and simple. The objective is to take these ancient Indian scriptures, things we usually file under mythology or religion, and recategorize them as scientific history, a literal record of technology. This isn't just a documentary series, it's a campaign to shift a global perspective.
Okay, for a mission like this to work, you need a problem to solve, right? Every good story needs a conflict. And for this one, the conflict is with the official, mainstream version of history itself. This quote from Sangam Talks really gets to the heart of the perspective driving this whole project. The core belief is that the history of India that most people learn has been twisted and distorted by outside forces. So this channel sees itself as a rescue mission, a way to reclaim an identity they feel has been buried. So what's the version of history they're fighting against? Well, this is basically it. This is the simplified timeline you'd find on Wikipedia or in a textbook. It shows this slow, steady progression over thousands of years, with the Vedic civilization kicking off around 1500 BCE. This is the accepted baseline story. And here's the bombshell. The trailer's narrative just completely rejects that timeline. It claims that a super advanced civilization was thriving more than 10,000 years ago. So now you have a direct fight. The textbook version of the past versus this radical new one. So, how in the world do you convince people of an idea that big? You don't write a boring academic paper, that's for sure. The solution they've chosen is powerful, cinematic storytelling. Let's dig into the creative choices they're using to build this whole new reality. Now, this is where it gets really clever. The whole visual vibe is ancient wisdom, future tech. And you can see how they do it. They're constantly blending these two worlds. An ancient manuscript morphs into computer code. A wise sage is surrounded by floating holographic math equations. It's all designed to make these ancient ideas feel super modern, super scientific, and credible to us today. The sound design is just as smart. It's meant to take you on a journey. You start at something that sounds ancient, mysterious, that primal and then it builds and builds until you're hit with this driving, modern, epic beat. The music literally transforms the ancient into the urgent. And if you look at the story they're telling, it follows a perfect classic formula. First, you get the hook, smashing the word mythology. Then, the big reveal. These ancient sages were actually scientists. Then you get the tragedy, the burning library, which makes you feel like something important was lost. And finally, the mission, where the channel becomes the hero who's going to get it all back. It's storytelling 101, and it's incredibly effective. Now, a great story gets you hooked, but they know you're going to ask, okay, but where's the proof? So the trailer has to promise some hard evidence to back up these huge claims. Let's see what they're putting on the table. This right here is the absolute core of their entire argument. They are explicitly redefining what a rishi or a sage was. Not a mystic, not a holy man, but one of the world's first scientists, an engineer, someone who was literally documenting the source code of the universe. And to make that idea feel real, they promise to show you actual stuff. Look at this list. We're talking blueprints for flying machines, ancient surgical instruments, star charts. They're turning the abstract concept of ancient science into a concrete promise of cool things you're actually going to see. And then, to really seal the deal, they hit you with these 3 little words. This is so smart. It's aimed directly at anyone who's feeling skeptical. By saying no bias, just evidence, they're trying to build trust and position themselves as neutral investigators who are just following the facts. Okay, so you have this massive, world-changing idea. How do you get it out there? You can't think small. And their distribution plan is anything but small. They're going global right from the very start. 15. That is the number of languages they plan to release in simultaneously,
We're not talking about a slow rollout. This is a day-one global offensive. An ambition of that scale is meant to send a message. This isn't just a local story. This is a human story. But, that's a huge mountain to climb. As you can see from this data, the internet is really dominated by just a handful of languages. So trying to make a splash in 15 different languages at once is a massive, massive challenge. How could a new channel possibly pull that off? Well, the answer is tech, specifically new advances in AI-powered dubbing. This kind of technology is making it way cheaper and faster to translate and dub content than ever before. It's the key that unlocks this whole global strategy and lets a small team have a giant footprint. So, when we put all the pieces together, the mission, the cinematic style, the global strategy, what's the big takeaway here? What does it all really add up to? In the end, what we've really been looking at is a masterclass in how to build a narrative. This whole project is a strategic effort to take this incredibly rich cultural heritage, rebrand it as scientific history, and then package it in a slick, cinematic way for a 21st century audience. It's all about shaping how we see things. And that final call to action really says it all. Relive it. They're not just asking you to be a passive viewer and watch a few videos. That's an invitation to join them, to actively participate in this new way of looking at the past, to become part of the story. And that leaves us with a really interesting question to think about. In this age of crazy media and global reach, our relationship with the past is constantly being remixed. This trailer is a perfect example, and it makes you wonder, how are the stories of our past being rebranded and repackaged for us right now, for the audiences of the future?